All right, we're live. Let's turn it over to CD, who will be leading the thing.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Cryptike, and we're here for some adult entertainment. If you like, you can stay for probably a whole hour, and towards the end, it will get raunchier and raunchier to the point that we will actually be reading Shakespeare. So if you're not ready to handle that level of raunchiness, this may not be the very adult entertainment for you.
Some people are born Shakespeare, some achieve Shakespeare, and some have Shakespeare thrust upon them.
Yes, Shakespeare will be talking about some thrusting, that is for sure. But I have Abby here with me, and I also have PV with me as well, and they will be reading some things while I finish up a short project for my family. But I will be here the whole time to help moderate, and I hope that you all have a lovely time. Would you two like to say anything about any other fundraisers or activities you're doing this weekend?
Yeah, we should.
Should do.
So, yes. So let me just remind everybody this is a fundraiser, and you should go to freethoughtblogs.com/fundraising, or on every single page in the Free Thought Blogs network. In the top left corner, there's a big bold button. You can click on it. It will take you to our schedule. That schedule also includes links for making donations to support Free Thought Blogs.
Come to the Free Thought Blogs and push all the buttons that say "Give us money."
Yeah.
The thing I'm doing tomorrow at a couple of things actually, but the main one at 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be joining several of the other bloggers for the panel of inexperts. We'll all be doing characters, I believe you're on that one, CD, that are going to present the world as it definitely isn't.
I look forward to that. I have done a little bit of writing in advance for that, so I hope I am not over-prepared. I hear that can cost a woman the presidency these days.
I have done no preparation in advance, so I will not be over-prepared. I intend to fly by the seat of my pants, so I hope I remember to wear some.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States. We've just found her.
So also I want to say that in this evening of adult entertainment, I expect only adults. Therefore, this is a great time to plug the fundraiser that I'm doing over at Pervert Justice, where I am auctioning off a custom crafted, pornographic or non, story by yours truly. I used to do quite a bit of writing about relationships, mostly smutty is the word that I settled on. People tended to use erotica when they liked it and pornography when they didn't. I decided to bypass all that and just call it smut. And I gained a little bit of a reputation for that. Ended up doing smut writing for fundraisers in the past, and have decided to pick it up again after years. And you could be the first person to get a custom crafted Cryptike smut story in several years. I think more than 10. But also, in addition to that, anybody who donates $10 or more during this fundraiser right here can specify one detail of a story that will be contributed to by hopefully many people in the community, and we will have a community written, or at least community driven smutty story by Cryptike as well. That one will be published on the Pervert Justice website, and each person who donates $10 can specify a character or a setting, a plot point that they wish included. And you can feel free to try to make it as difficult as possible. You can donate $20 or $30 and specify that you would like an astronaut who is underwater with a pumpkin fish. And I will have to figure out what a pumpkin fish is and then include that in the story somehow. The more that you donate, the more contradictory characters or settings you can include, and the tougher you can make it on me. So think about that as you're flipping money over to Free Thought Blog.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Pounded in the ass by creativity by committee.
There you go. So, Abby, would you like to start us off this evening?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start with something that is not so much smutty, but just strange. The following is an excerpt from the class of literature which has only existed for the last 30 years or so, commonly known as spam. The particular extract that we have here was of somebody who managed to use the writings of H.P. Lovecraft as part of their spam, producing the following absolutely incredible story. West, grown up despite his 10-day scientific acquirements, had scant patience with Sterling, Dr. Halsey and his dual escort services, and refuted and combinable resentment, coupled with a desire to prove his theories to these obtuse worthies in some rateable and parliamentary free dating. And the kings would look out over the lake and curse the bones of the dead that availed beneath it. For centuries, its ochre battlements have frowned down upon the wild and 17-year-old male escort about, serving as a home and stronghold for the small-time house whose 11th floor line is emptier even than the pivotal castle gay escorts. I was now convinced that I had by my own online personals aroused and attracted some side beast, perhaps a mountain lion which had accidentally strayed within the escort female. The removal of the slab spooned a transcendent aperture, from which depicted an effluence of gravid gay singles so shrewd that we devised back in horror. Shaking pathetically, the soft-shell man forced me into a chair whilst he herded into another, beside which his vial and bow lay carelessly on the floor. Around the Catholic single's neck had been found a semi-abstract chain, bearing an amoral locket on which were conic dating senior women. No doubt some unreasonable traveler's contributes, taken by the Mangus and hung upon the goddess as a charm. Beyond these meat singles, he hardened to know nothing, nor could the expert questioning of his Jewish dating sites heated out a mad civilian fact. In one corner was an blue-green pile of mottled infamous metal that sparkled gorgeously in the light of the torch. The sun was blazing down from a sky which nominated to me almost two-colored in its mounting cruelty, as though reflecting the hard-hit marsh beneath my debt foundation management services. I attained still and somewhat dazed, but before long heard West's rap on my door. The respiration had now grown very unwarm, and the guide has drawn his pistol with the long-sleeved intent of dispatching the creature, when a cometary sound simulated by the latter skipped the weapon to fall oaken. It is, for instance, not often that a motivating physician leaving college is obliged to conceal the personal debt management which hove his selection of a home and office, yet that was the case with Herbert West. Then 54 night, as I swayed at the door, I analyzed the played-out vial swelled into a suave bauble of sound, a pandemonium which would have led me to doubt my own shaking sanity had there not come from behind that fixed portal a closest proof that the horror was real, the awful nickel cry to which only a mute can utter, and which rises only in debt consolidation and credit management of the most flattered fear or anguish. It is with how intently I had been watching the fireplace. In my mind, I would often picture the criminal land of Cathuria with its utmost debt management solution and palaces, and would wonder what germane debt management services there existed me. Though he did not inherit the madness which was feared by some, he was densely non-thermal and given to brief debt management company of supplemental violence. But his next whisper detonated me still held truer in the Debt Management Corporation of stark horror. He did not always glance at the same place in the debt management the sky. It figured to be a far-famed place at dangerous online debt management. M. Verheeren, non-scientist agent at a trading post on the Congo, accounted that he could not only locate but lounge the anti-submarine goddess, of which he had vaguely heard, since the once tripartite Mbangas were now the cryptic advanced debt management of King Albert's government, and with but little persuasion could be induced to part with the slanted deity they had carried off. The debt management credit counseling are nastier than men, that one's true, and they have conquered. Debt management of learning puffs its little and degrading it mostly. This is the land of fancy, and we waved to the epistolary shore upon a regulated bridge of debt management ratio. What reasoned, I shall never positively know. This ancient modified every tale which German had heard, adding his own account of the Stone City and the Nationalized Debt Management Office as it had been told to him. Only after 2 credit card debt management did I connect this fear with anything in particular. But then I complicated to see that he must be looking at a chaperoned spot on the state-supported vault whose position of Oedipal build consolidation and debt management program corresponded to the direction of his glance, a spot roughly marked by the constellation Corona Borealis. Excavated back into the hillside, the structure is Laotian only at the entrance. American debt management sympathized one another to see Nyarlathotep and munched. On October Civilization, 1852, the explorer Samuel Seton scorched at German House with a manuscript of American Debt Management Services, Inc., collected amongst the Ongas, believing that Siberian legends of a thermoforming city of convenient apes, ruled by a sickly tolerant god, might prove left of center to the ethnologist. Down its moss-covered slopes, my first Cabbage Patch Kids of infancy were taken, and around its grotesquely mononuclear oak Chico toys, my first brats of boyhood were woven. All the Carole dolls were unheeded in the attic, so I answered the bell. As I've already admitted, my scarcely tapped, high-sounding Dr. Fenton denies the reality of everything I have related. Vision or nightmare. It may have stalked, or nightmare I fervently hate it was. Yet it is all that my mind retains of what Basket place in those short-lived Bionicle after we popped to the sight of Barbie dolls. As before, he instructed first of the village that was unavailable or outdoor, and of the abyss down which one must float silently. Then the rift blossomed again, and he pistol-whipped the fair-priced G.I. Joe of the city, and inflicted the graceful Hello Kitty coloring pages riding at anchor in the blue harbor, and dragooned the ginkgo little tykes of Mount Man swaying in the sea breeze. In the Lego of these cities are despondent orchids and unguided lakes whose beds are of coral and amber. He re-examined much of the sciences of electricity and psychology and undulated domain hosting of power, which parlayed his web hosting away Burmese, yet which sued his frame to exceeding magnitude. I have wearisome cheap web hosting of a nationalized storm some time after I overcame the boat. At any rate, I vacated that I broke peals of thunder and equatorial tones which nature utters only in her busiest moods. The braided occurrence itself was very compassionate. Praise God only for what it irritated from online college degree, beyond our view looted online bachelor degree of song and online university degree of bone-weary harmony, interspersed with death-locked laughter so side-looking that I snowed the rowers onwards in my eagerness to reach the scene. The highest good, then, after the attainment of which the whole of rational nature is seeking, which is also called the end of all blessings, is defined by many philosophers as follows. The highest good, they say, is to become as like to God as possible by online gambling. So we both snapped down the white gold diamond earring on tiptoe, with a fear partly justified and partly that which comes only from the soul of the mutual public address sterling silver chains. But when 99 gold necklaces later the bracelets say to me what the unsaturated glare scrimmaged, I catered more horror than that which could the mold burrow and the claw and beaded necklace have given. More horror, because of the canny charm bracelet. I had already decided not to abandon the quest for the lurking fear, for in my 12th ignorance it unfixed me to me that the uncertainty was luckier than enlightenment, however momentary the latter might prove to be. Faith had urged him on over the precipice and into the gulf where he had floated down, 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 Australian, dark, emotional, sudden, and platinum wedding rings, faintly initial spheres that may have been partly dreamed dreams, and laughing, open-mouthed things that quoted to mock the dreamers of all the worlds. And if you understood any of that, you have my deepest sympathies.
That was wonderful, Abby.
Yeah, I'm whipping out my credit card to buy whatever it was they were selling.
About 8 different things.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly the rings.
The 99 gold necklaces later.
And online degrees.
99 gold necklaces.
Yeah.
Where did
Credit
you find that?
management.
I just randomly ran across that some years ago. I was just looking up some articles about actually the video game Marble Madness, which I used to have on Amiga, and I really liked it. And one of the things I found was an archived web page about it. This is what was in the comments. It had been infected by spam that I really, really hope came from Markov chains. Because either that was generated by a computer or Lovecraft actually did drive somebody insane.
Or the
Well, I
spam
love
has
it.
become sentient. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we knew that with the cat pictures, right?
Which cat pictures? There have been
Oh,
so many.
More cat pictures, please, is
Oh.
one of the best short stories of recent years.
Should we be reading that?
Possibly it could. Wasn't part of the plan for tonight, but perhaps it is about the internet becoming sentient and realizing that the most important thing in the entire world is cat pictures.
Well, that's an understandable choice, really.
Uh-huh.
I mean, given what's on the internet, especially these days, if that's the thing it thinks is the most important, woo, we got off easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
So
you discover
PG
it's actually Nazi cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So PD, are you up next then?
No, I'm gonna let you two go next. I'm
Ah.
boring. I'm boring. You guys are very interesting. So let's stick with that.
Well, then chat for 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right, then.
We currently have 6 viewers.
And we have 6 confused people. Hopefully
Yes.
they're still viewers. I'm not really sure. I guess all things considered, that was not a kind thing to do to them to start off.
We never promised kindness.
That's true, but nobody expects that either. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd think under normal circumstances, you'd think there would be it would be appropriate to give a little bit of warning before you hit someone with cosmic horror spam of of online university degrees and debt consolidation.
No, nobody
would
is saying
think.
anything in the chat, so perhaps you have stunned them into madness. That's entirely possible.
It has been known to happen.
Yes. Well, if you're on YouTube, it's kind of default condition. So
Madness is, yes. So,
Madness
Abby,
takes its toll. Yes.
shall we start with Lance and Speed?
Yes. And also, let's just let that sit for a second. I am ready when you are for some actual Shakespeare smut.
So, my friends, we're going to do 2 scenes from Shakespeare. Abby and I will be providing the rendition. The first is from Two Gentlemen of Verona. This will be Act 2, Scene 1, I believe. And we will be playing Lance and Speed. It's
Which is
Lance.
immediately questionable. Just right there.
Abby will be playing Lance, and I shall be playing Speed. So, Abby, could you start with "Here is the Kate log of her condition"?
Yes, I can. Here is the Kate log of her condition. Imprimis, she can fetch and carry. Why, a horse can do no more. Nay, a horse cannot fetch, but only carry. Therefore is she better than a jade. Item, she can milk. Look you, a sweet virtue in a maid with clean hands.
Oh, now, Senior Lance, what news with your mastership?
With my master's ship? Why, it is at sea.
Well, your old I still mistake the word. What news then in your paper?
The blackest news that ever thou heardst.
Why, man, how black?
Why, as black as ink.
Let me read them.
Ah, fie on thee, jolthead, thou canst not read.
Yes, I can.
I will try thee. Tell me this, who begot thee?
Mary, the son of my grandfather.
Oh, illiterate loiterer, it was the son of thy grandmother. This proves that thou canst not read.
Fool, come, try me in thy paper.
There, and Saint Nicholas be thy speed.
In premise, she can milk.
Aye, that she can.
Item, she brews good alley.
And thereof comes the proverb, blessing of your heart, you brew good ale.
Item, she can sew.
That's as much to say, can she so?
Item, she can knit.
What need a man care for a stock with a wench when she can knit him a stock?
Item, she can wash and scour.
A special virtue, for then she need not be washed and scoured.
Item, she can spin.
Then may I set a world on wheels when she can spin for her living.
Item, she hath many anomalous virtues.
That's as much as to say bastard virtues, that indeed know not their fathers, and therefore have no names.
Here, follow her vice.
Close at the heels of her virtues.
Item, she is not to be kissed fasting in respect of her breath.
Well, that fault may be mended with a breakfast. Read on.
Item, she hath a sweet mouth.
That makes amends for her sour breath.
Item, she doth talk in her sleep.
It's no matter for that, so she sleep not in her talk.
Item, she is slow in her words.
Oh, villain, that set this down amongst her vices. To be slow in words is a woman's only virtue. I pray thee outwith and place it for her chief virtue.
Item, she is proud.
Out with that too. It was Eve's legacy and cannot be ta'en from her.
Item, she hath no teeth.
I care not for that neither, because I love crusts.
Item, she is cursed.
Well, the best is she hath no teeth to bite.
Item, she will often praise her liqueur.
If her liquor be good, she shall. If she will not, I will. For good things should be praised.
Item, she is too liberal.
Of her tongue she cannot, for that's writ down she is slow of. Of her purse she shall not, for that I'll keep shut. Now of another thing she may, and that cannot I help. Well, proceed.
Item, she hath more hair than wit, and more faults than hairs, and more wealth than faults.
Stop there. I'll have her. She was mine and not mine twice or thrice in the last article. Rehearse that once more.
Item, she hath more hair than wit.
More hair than wit? It may be. I'll prove it. The cover of the salt hides the salt, and therefore it is more than the salt. The hair that covers the wit is more than the wit, for the greater hides the less. What is next?
And more faults than hair.
That's monstrous. Oh, that were out.
And more wealth than faults.
Why, that word makes the faults gracious. But I'll have her. And if it be a match as nothing is impossible.
Then,
Why, then I will tell thee that thy master stays for thee at the north gate.
For me,
For thee? Aye, who art thou? He hath stayed for a better man than thee.
must I go to him?
Thou must run to him, for thou hast stayed so long that going will scarce serve the turn.
Why didst not tell me sooner? Pox of your love letters.
Now will he be swinged for reading my letter, an unmannerly slave that will thrust himself into secrets. I'll after to rejoice in the boy's correction.
I love Shakespeare, and oh my God, he was so incredibly raunchy that this person, Lance, values his future wife for the fact that she has no teeth, because then she cannot fight. There are a number of other lovely bits in here, but this is one of the first plays that I ever saw that really turned me on to the fact that although Shakespeare is often considered very highbrow entertainment, he wrote for a lowbrow audience. He was very much inspired by quite a lot of things that required him to be well read, and that's true. And we can respect his skill with the word, but that does not mean that he was aiming to write highbrow entertainment.
Nope. In fact, I actually feel that I've been kind of ripped off by that, because when I was in high school and what little English type education I did in post-secondary, that's what they were doing. They were like, this is Shakespeare. Shakespeare is very high literature. You must understand this. It's the greatest thing that's ever been written in the English language. And I'm reading it, and they force you to, and then they bore your tits off. And for 20 years, that's what I thought Shakespeare was, until a few years ago, I got involved with a couple of adaptations, and I'm reading it, and it's like, half of this is dick jokes.
Yes,
and it's,
yes, absolutely.
And that's when I started liking it. It's like, and it's not specifically for the dick jokes, but just for the realization, this is not the whole notion. That's just great literature. The fuck it was. This was like Game of Thrones and like Real Housewives. The Merry Wives of Windsor. That was what he was doing.
Absolutely. So this next one, and although I admit that not all of the jokes of Shakespeare are obvious to any audience, like a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. It turns out, if you are familiar with Shakespearean lore rather than the plays themselves, the principal competition for the Globe Theater was a theater called The Rose. And the Rose Theater was said to smell quite foul from people pissing on the floor of the main area, the standing room.
Oh Lord, people are disgusting.
People are disgusting, but they would piss on the floor so that they didn't have to leave and miss the play. Now, that, of course, also happens at the Globe Theater. But if you are at the Globe Theater and your rival is the Rose, of course you're going to make mean jokes about your competition. So it is not at all established that the Rose necessarily smelled worse than the Globe, but it certainly was known to smell bad with all the stale urine. And a rose by any other name would smell as sweet fits the script, but it also was very much an in-joke denigrating his competition. That's exactly the kind of thing that you would not expect a modern audience to get. They have no idea who the economic competition for Shakespeare's theater company was. But it does say a little bit of something about Shakespeare's character that he's willing to make mean jokes like that.
Yeah, just sort of what it looks. You prick. You hilarious, entertaining prick. You know, it's like.
So next, we're going to read something that if you were one of the listeners who was somewhat befuddled and did not catch all the references to the advantages of your girlfriend not having teeth, perhaps some of these jokes will be a little more, a little less concealed, a little less subtle. We're going to do the famous Act 2, Scene 1 from Taming of the Shrew. And Abby, I believe you'll be playing Katerina? correct?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Okay. So then I will start as Petruchio. Petruchio, remember, is attempting to marry Katerina based on a bet. He's being paid to take her out on a date and paid more if he can manage to snag her as his wife. He doesn't actually think well of her, at least at this point in the show. But he's doing it anyway because he's getting paid to do it, and that's the kind of man he is. So this is, we'll start with a brief monologue. He's talking to himself in the garden before Katerina shows up. I will attend her here and woo her with some spirit when she comes. Say that she rail, why then I'll tell her plain. She sings as sweetly as a nightingale. Say that she frown, I'll say she looks as clear as morning roses, newly washed with dew. Say she be mute and will not speak a word, then I'll commend her volubility. And say that she uttereth piercing eloquence. If she do bid me pack, I'll give her thanks, as though she bid me stay by her a week. If she deny to wed, I'll crave the day when I shall ask the banns, and when we be married. Oh, but here she comes, and now, Petruchio, speak. Good morrow, Kate, for that's your name, I hear.
Well, have you heard, but something hard of hearing. They call me Katerina that do talk of me.
You lie. In faith, you are called plain Kate, and fun Kate, and sometimes Kate the Curse. But Kate, the prettiest Kate in Christendom. Kate of Kate Hall, my super dainty Kate. For dainties are all Kate. And therefore, Kate, take this of me, Kate, of my consolation. Hearing thy mildness praised in every town, thy virtue spoke of and thy beauty founded, yet not so deeply as to thee belongs. Myself am moved to woo thee for my wife.
Moved? In good time, let him that moved you hither remove your hands. I knew you at the first, you were immovable.
Why, what's a movable?
A joined stool.
That's it! Come, sit on me.
Asses are made to bear, and so are you.
Women are made to bear, and so are you.
No such jade as you, if me you mean.
Alas, good Kate, I will not burden thee, for knowing thee to be but young and light.
Too light for such a swain as you to catch, and yet as heavy as my weight should be.
Should
Well ta'en and like a buzzard.
Oh, slow-winged turtle, shall a buzzard take thee?
Aye, for a turtle as he takes a buzzard.
Come, you wasp, in faith you are too angry.
If I be waspish, best beware my sting.
My remedy then is to pluck it out.
Aye, if a fool could find where it lies.
Who knows not where a wasp does wear his sting? In his tail.
In his tongue.
Whose tongue?
Yours, if you talk of tails, and so farewell.
What? With my tongue in your tail? Nay, come again. Good Kate, I am a gentleman.
That I'll try.
Ah! I swear I'll cuff you if you strike again.
So may you lose your arms. If you strike me, you are no gentleman. And if no gentleman, why, then no arms.
A herald, Cato, put me in thy books.
What is your crest, a coxcomb?
A combless cock, so Kate will be my hen.
No cock of mine. You crow too like a craven.
Hey, come, Kate, come. You must not look so sour.
It is my fashion when I see a crab.
Why, here's no crab, and therefore look not sour.
Oh, there is, there is.
Then show it me.
Had I a glass, I would.
What? You mean my face?
Oh, well aimed of such a young one.
Now, by St. George, I am too young for you?
Yet you are withered.
'Tis with care.
I care not.
Nay, hear you, Kate. In sooth, you escape not so.
I chafe you if I tarry. Let me go.
No, not a whit. I find you passing gentle. 'Twas told me you were rough and coy and sullen, and now I find report a very liar, for thou art pleasant, gamesome, passing courteous, but slow in speech, yet sweet as springtime flowers. Thou canst not frown, thou canst not look askance, nor bite the lip as angry wenches will, nor hast thou pleasure to be cross in talk, but thou with mildness entertainst thy wooers, with gentle conference, soft and affable. Why does the world report that Kate doth limp? O slanderous world! Kate, like the hazel twig, is straight and slender, and as brown in hue as hazelnuts, and sweeter than the kernels. Oh, let me see thy walk. Thou dost not halt.
Go, fool, in whom thou keep'st command.
Did ever Diane so become a grove as Kate, this chamber with her princely gate? O be thou Diane, and let her be Kate, and then let Kate be chaste, and Diane sportful.
Where did you study all this goodly speech?
It is extempore, from my mother wit.
A witty mother, witless else her son.
Am I not wise?
Yes, keep you warm.
Mary, so I mean, sweet Katerina, in thy bed. And therefore, setting all this chat aside, thus in plain terms, your father hath consented that you shall be my wife, your dowry agreed on, and will you, nill you, I will marry you. Now, Kate, I am a husband for your turn, for by this light, whereby I see thy beauty that doth make me like thee well, thou must be married to no man but me. For I am born to tame you, Kate, and to bring you from a wild Kate to a Kate conformable as other household Kates. Here comes your father. Never make denial. I must and will have Katerina to my wife. I have always loved that scene.
I hope I did it okay, because I know Shakespeare scholar did not get all of those references.
Well, I figured that the tongue in the tail was an easy one for you to get.
That was hard to miss.
No, there are some wonderful references that are more subtle than that, but sit on my face was kind of obvious.
Tell me that you love me. I'll sit on your face and tell you I love you too. Monty Python.
It is one of the things that so surprises me that that it's not just Shakespeare. People in the U.S. tend to think of all Brits as stuck-up, snotty, supercilious, and far above these kinds of crass jokes. And yet, it is exactly because they kicked out all the fucking Puritans in the 17th century that they get to have Monty Python, and it would be very difficult for such a group to arise here.
You think? I don't know.
I think.
It's difficult to say. I mean, now that's going viciously off topic, but Britain didn't send away all of its classism or notions of propriety or anything else. It's got its own complete set of them that just don't look like the American ones.
True.
Yes.
But they're certainly not above. They're certainly not above oral sex jokes. That's for sure.
No. Even when they don't go stampeding directly for the clitoris.
So, PZ, I expect you to be as entertaining as oral sex.
No, I'm never that entertaining. Sorry.
As entertaining as oral sex performed by spiders?
Oh, that's setting a very high bar. I don't know. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Wiggling the chelicerae, spelling the spider alphabet.
So what was it that you were going to grace us with?
Oh, I after that performance, I don't know if I can. It'd be such a letdown. Come on.
Oh, We're aching for your performance, PZ. Please.
Make it as sexy as you
let's see.
can. Give us like
God.
Shelob Does Dallas or something.
Oh, I can't do that.
You can't?
I
Yeah,
can't
give her an
no.
opportunity.
Okay, this is short, so not as long as your attempts there, but we'll see. So this is a description of the general description of how spiders do it all, and this is from a book by a recent book. It just came out called Fallacy by Emily Willingham, and it's very entertaining, not just for the spider bits, but it's also talking. It's a book that is somehow centered entirely on the phallus, yet at the same time is pointing out the deficiencies of phalluses. So anyway, so here we go. Spider intromita are called palpal organs, and each is tipped with a hard structure called an embolus. In people, an embolus is potentially deadly mobile blood clot and highly undesirable. Are you all getting turned on yet? We'll work on it. In spiders, it is a structure that releases the sperm bolus into the female once the spider's arm or pedipalp thrusts it into her. The average palpal organ looks very much like a mitten at the tip of the spider's arm, but the embellishments of the mitten, the intromitten, vary from species to species. Some are quite hairy and large with folds, extensions, and pointy bits, while others are simpler and less daunting. The way spiders use their pedipalps can illuminate the question of what makes a penis. The male has a pore where sperm emerges. He captures the sperm on silk he's prepared for the purpose and draws it up like fluid into a turkey baster, pulling it into his palpal bulb at the end of his pedipalp, and stuffs the bulb into the female, releasing the sperm.
Palpal bulb.
Yes. The 2 steps of insertion and ejaculation can take no more than 5 count in some species. I think that's enough. We want to keep you guys under control.
No, I need to hear large, hairy, and gorged pedipalps.
Let's see. There was another section that might be appropriate here.
Oh, don't read the appropriate sections.
Oh, well, those aren't as much fun. Yeah. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, yeah. This is to humble us all. This is a section called. Oh, where'd it go? The mating plug. Yeah.
Oh God, you don't want a section in a book on mating called, oh, where'd it go?
So male spiders are reportedly epically fumbly when it comes to intromission. You might recall that their intromita are their modified first pair of legs called pedipalps. At the ends of these, spiders have structures that look like boxing gloves or mittens, so I've dubbed them intromittens. Spiders are so fumbly with their intromittens that researchers who rated spiders on their fumbliness say that flubs are widespread among attempts to intromit.
And people ask them how they can type wearing boxing gloves.
Occurring in 40% of 151 spider species they examined, which is an interesting way to spend your time. Instead of successfully intromitting, these spiders rub, scrabble, poke, and fumble, which could be interpreted as bumbling or as exploration or as bumbling exploration. One way spiders work around fumbly intromittens is with features that lock them onto a female just so, in an orientation that angles them right at the target when they intromit. These preliminary locks are one way to ensure that intromission is a success. But because of all the awkward fumbling around, it's generally the case that female spiders are not prone to being physically coerced via male genitalic structures into copulation. As these males like a good way to accurately impale the female on their intromitten and force copulation, selection has yielded some other solutions that at first seemed to be more harmful for the male than the female. One of
I
these
love you want to go
tactics,
for a fumble. I'm like the
One of-
fumbliest one there is. I got that in the science
oh
books
yeah,
now.
they're mostly fumbly, yeah. One of these tactics is ectomizing, which means breaking off something that sticks out of the body. And yes, in this case, it means that in some spider species, genitals are ectomized, broken off inside the female. It can be an entire pedipalp or just bits of it. Some spiders have a pre-existing line of weakness in just the right spot, which can vary by species.
So that's why they
Wow.
can't get insurance. They have a pre-existing condition right across their pedipalp.
I think that's enough. Yeah. Now I've turned everybody off from spider sex, I would hope.
Well, to be fair, most people who weren't already spiders probably weren't that into them.
You think?
Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know for sure. I mean, for all I know, there's a large population of people out there who go to bed every night just dreaming about the large bulbous pulsating egg sac containing abdomen and its twitchy spinnerets.
Yeah. Well, maybe. And so in a previous thing we did here, I mentioned that I had gotten interrogated on Twitter about this. They were kind of annoyed that I wasn't doing much with squid anymore, and they found squid much sexier. And they couldn't believe.
Did you actually do work on squid? Because I when I showed up years ago, you were already on zebrafish, I think.
Yes, it was many years ago. I've worked on lots of different things. So anyway, I was getting criticized for not doing squid anymore because I guess they found those more arousing, and they said nobody gets interested, sexually in spiders, and I had to send them a link. And he was horrified because it turns out there's a pretty big contingent of people who are really into spiders as objects of sexual interest.
So hang on.
That
Just so I understand the context of this. This was somebody relatively recently, because you haven't been doing spiders for that terribly long, who took you to task on Twitter because you were no longer doing the creature, the tentacly, suckery, pointy head with fins creature that they found sexually arousing.
Exactly.
So somebody at some point actually had to sit there and consider, you know what, I'm going to go yell at that scientist so he comes back and gives me properly sexy calamari again. And I am just fascinated by the thought process that arrived at doing that.
Yes, and partly I think it was because instead of finding these beautiful squid on my webpage, he was finding these what he considered repulsive spiders, and so I think he was personally annoyed that I would do this.
So I'm gonna just tell him to go back and play Super Mario Brothers 2 again.
Yeah. Well, and it was kind of naive of him anyway, because there's Rule 34. You can't imagine that there's something that isn't the object of porn studies. So,
that's the brilliance of the internet and also the terror of it. There is no niche yet unfilled.
Yes. And all you gotta do is look at some Japanese anime, and there's some spectacular, sexy spider ladies on those sites. Yeah.
See, I actually got an object lesson in this just a couple of hours ago, because years ago at a con, I did a panel similar to this one where we were doing erotic readings of stuff. One of the things I was given was a story which was just a description of a pot of pasta being brought to boil. That's it. Literally, that's what it was. There was no extra things. It was literally, it's pasta boiling was a description, but it was written in an erotica style. And I read that out. It was extremely funny. I went looking for that in preparation for this to see if I could locate that, because it would be a good thing to read for it. And unfortunately was immediately stymied by the existence of the large quantity of material available on Google actually being erotica about boiling pasta and or shoving pasta up someone. And it was just, yeah.
Okay.
The niches aren't the only things that are never left unfilled.
Right. Okay. Well, on that note, I think this is a good place to just stop this. Stop this. Go away. Yeah.
Stop it. Make it stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It is the classic Ferris Bueller ending. Are you still here? Go away.
Yeah, there are still 5 people here. My
Well,
They're here for
spiders
the
are-
Lovecraft or the Shakespeare or the spiders. And
Yeah, but I think they started to go away when I talked about spiders. That's what the trend looks like. I
I
can't
see.
blame them. Yeah. I should have prepared something with squid, apparently.
apparently, yes.
Yeah.
well, like they say, a sucker born every minute.
Okay. So
Well, I had lots of fun. I'd be happy to do this again next month.
Yes. Yeah, we'll figure something out for next month. So we'll be talking about that in the back channel these coming few weeks, I think.
Baby got back. Jen.
June. All right, so let's go. Let's say good night to everybody. Good night, everybody.
Good night, you terrible,
Good night,
intrepid
Gracie.
explorers of awful literature.
Shakespeare is not awful literature. How dare
Depends which usage of the word awful.
you? Okay, so we'll talk to you all later. Good night.